Brought to you by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis. This edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on future mobility and market evolution in weeks 37 and 38. Frennis supports enterprises with market and competitive intelligence, decoding disruptive technologies, customer needs, regulatory change, and competitive moves so product teams and strategy leaders don't just react, but shape the future of mobility.
Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into what the industry is talking about in future mobility right now.
Yeah, we've curated the key insights from LinkedIn over the past couple of weeks, and the big takeaway, it feels like we're shifting gears.
Definitely. Less focus on just the shiny tech pilots, more on, can we actually make this work? Can we integrate it, scale it?
Exactly. It's about the systems now, the data, the policy, the infrastructure, not just isolated experiments.
The hardware feels almost not solved, but understood in many ways. The real challenge now is making it viable, making it stick.
Okay, so let's dive into the first big theme, autonomous mobility. Still a lot of buzz, still a lot of investment. Fade Pete pointed out the robotaxi race is really heating up globally.
It is, but what's fascinating is how the strategies are diverging. It's not one single race anymore. You've got sort of three main camps emerging.
Right, so who's doing what?
Well, first you have Waymo. They're going wide, leveraging their tech stack, LiDAR, radar, maps. Most people agree they offer the smoothest ride currently.
Okay, the premium experience maybe.
For now, yeah. Then you've got Tesla going deep. As Felipe Salinas Rangel noted, they're betting on vision and their massive driver data set.
Which apparently results in a more human-like, maybe slightly rougher ride.
That's the observation, yeah. But potentially lower cost per vehicle, less reliance on those expensive sensors.
In the third.
That's Zoox. Barack Sauce highlighted this one. They're going for full vertical integration. Custom vehicle, controlling the whole value chain, backed by Amazon operating in Vedas.
It's the end-to-end control play. But doesn't that run into the issue Jacob F. and Felipe Salinas Rangel flagged? The brand problem.
How so?
Well, people still default to saying, I'm going to Uber, right? Even if Waymo's tech is better today. Is Zoox trying to build a whole new brand habit from scratch?
That's exactly the gamble, I think. Own the experience, own the brand, but it's incredibly capital intensive to control everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, there's this whole other debate about remote driving.
Oh, yeah. Gregory DeConge didn't mince words. He called it the new absurdity in mobility.
Strong words. Why absurdity?
His argument is that it's just a complex, expensive workaround. It adds latency risks, keeps humans in the loop operationally. It basically undermines the whole promise of autonomous shared services from an economic standpoint.
So a stopgap that maybe shouldn't be a stopgap.
That seems to be his take. The future has to be truly driverless shared fleets to make sense financially.
Interesting. And this contrasts sharply with what seems to be happening in Europe.
It does. Lucas Neckerman made a strong case that Europe isn't really falling behind on AVs. They're just prioritizing differently.
How so?
They're putting more resources into shared mobility models first. Think MOIA's ride pooling in Hamburg. It aligns better with city planners who are often pushing micromobility and public transport over, say, single occupancy robotaxis taking up street space.
Got it. And Guillermo Campo Amor actually put a name on this shift, right? From case to pace.
Yeah, case being connected, autonomous, shared, electric. Pace acknowledges the fragmentation, the different paths to autonomy, connectedness, electrification, depending on local context. It accepts that maybe autonomy isn't the first priority everywhere.
A more pragmatic view, perhaps.
Possibly. Though one area where Europe might be lagging, according to Sylvia Rausch, is urban air mobility.
The EV tools. What's the concern there?
She flagged setbacks like the Volocopter insolvency, while you see China's eHang and U.S. players like Joby and Archer making strides, sometimes focusing on specific routes like tourism or airport connections.
So a bit of divergence in the skies, too.
Okay, so if AVs are still figuring out the winning strategy and Europe's focusing on integration, where are we seeing more immediate traction on the ground?
That definitely seems to be micromobility. Theme 2.
And what's really interesting here is the power of language. Reena Mahajan had this great post suggesting we flip the script.
How?
Stop calling bikes and scooters micromobility, frame them as the norm, and call huge private cars macromobility. It's a small change, but it reframes the whole urban planning debate.
I like that. Because the utility is clearly there. Orestes Pascalinas shared how shared cargo e-bikes in the Netherlands are actually replacing car trips for everyday stuff.
Like school runs, groceries.
Exactly. But that's enabled by city design and, crucially, political will.
Right. And scaling that utility brings huge operational challenges. Prabin Joel Jones pointed this out, referencing Voi's CTO Anders Iverson.
What was the key challenge?
Not just fleet size, but managing the complexity, standardizing all the IoT stuff, using AI smartly for maintenance and placement. Operational excellence becomes the differentiator.
And the scale of that operation can be massive. Lancelot Hoare mentioned Tired, servicing over 600 bikes a day. That's serious throughput.
Yeah, that's not a side hustle, that's industrial scale maintenance.
Which, naturally, needs the right infrastructure. Shabazz Stewart highlighted a really key development in New York.
The Uni Hub.
Exactly. Team Uni launching the first Dutch-style secure bike parking hub. That's a signal that cycling is being treated as serious, everyday transport that needs proper facilities.
It moves beyond just leaving scooters on the sidewalk.
And policy is starting to reinforce this. Laha Marianne Fried flagged the push to get the European Commission to include bike leasing in corporate fleet decarbonization rules.
That could be huge. Is there evidence it works?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Germany and Belgium have seen success not just emissions cuts, but employees who cycle average 4 fewer sick days a year. That's a real productivity and public health benefit.
Wow, okay. So that connects mobility directly to health outcomes and company bottom lines.
So we've got progress in micromobility, ongoing debates in AVs. The next piece is pulling it all together. Theme 3, shared mobility, MOS, and the equity challenge.
Yeah, the integration dream. But Lars Christian Grudem-Olsen pointed out a really tough paradox here.
Issues.
Shared services, bikes, scooters, car share, tend to cluster where they're most profitable. Usually dense urban cores, like downtown Oslo in his example.
Where people often already have decent transit options.
Exactly. They often neglect the suburban areas, the fringes, where people might desperately need those options, but the usage rates aren't high enough to make it work commercially.
The market fails the low-density areas.
Pretty much. So if you want equitable access, you can't rely on market forces alone. Policy has to step in subsidies, maybe service requirements for operators.
Makes sense. Are there lower-cost policy levers cities can pull right now?
Ali Claiborne is big advocate for carpooling.
Yeah.
Simple, low-cost, high-impact potential. He noted in England something like only 1 in 10 commuting cars has a passenger.
That's a lot of empty seats.
A huge amount. Policies like France has introduced, actively encouraging and facilitating shared journeys, could make a big dent in congestion and emissions almost immediately.
Interesting. And we're also seeing cities getting smarter about the types of shared vehicles they use.
Yes, Badžiūnas Alikonis mentioned Bolt Drive in Lithuania using ultra-compact EVs like the Citroen Ami, takes up half a parking space, perfect for short city trips.
Right, sizing the vehicle for the trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Manuel Herzog talked about Tier Mobility Dot, choosing St. Gallen, a mid-sized city, showing how operators are refining their strategies for specific local needs, not just targeting the biggest metros.
Targeted deployment. And underpinning all this integration effort is data, right?
Absolutely crucial. Johan Hugosson Hausby gave an update on Norway's revised MMTIS regulation. This sounds pretty significant.
What does it do?
It's basically going to force almost all passenger transport providers, buses, trains, taxis, carpooling, micromobility, you name it, to provide standardized, real-time data access.
Wow, so everyone has to open up their data feeds.
In a consistent format, yes. The strategic implication is massive.
How so? Does it favor the big players or level the field?
It should fundamentally level the playing field for anyone trying to build integrated MOS solutions and for the cities trying to manage the whole system. It forces transparency.
So better journey planning for users, better oversight for regulators.
That's the goal. It moves regulation from being reactive to being proactive, enabling genuine multimodal planning because everyone's working from the same real-time information base.
Okay, let's pull back for the final theme. The big picture ecosystems, strategy, and what really differentiates players going forward.
Yeah, coming out of events like IA Mobility, the consensus seems pretty clear. Pim DeWeerd and James Broomer both sort of crystallized this idea.
Which is?
The focus is shifting decisively away from just the vehicle hardware. The new battleground is AI, software, sustainability, and the overall ecosystem.
So OEMs can't just launch a good car anymore.
Not if they want to win in the long run. Daniel Niederberger really urged European players especially to think beyond the product launch. It has to be about building ecosystems, integrating services, capturing value from data.
A much broader strategic view.
Definitely. And to compete on that global ecosystem stage, Sampo Heitinen had a pretty bold proposal for Europe.
What was that?
He basically said Europe needs an Airbus moment for digital transport, consolidate capabilities, create maybe 3 to 5 large consumer-facing digital transport giants.
Wow, with public investment to back them. Like $1 billion each.
That was his suggestion, a call for strategic industrial policy to build players with global scale, moving beyond fragmented national pilots.
A serious call to action. On the tech side of strategy, I liked Michael Schmidt's analogy for AI.
The pedal assist one.
Yeah, viewing AI not as full self-driving that replaces humans, but as pedal assist for knowledge work. It boosts efficiency, helps the human operator, but preserves their skill and judgment.
It's a great way to frame it, right-sizing the tech solution.
Yeah.
Augmentation, not necessarily total automation.
Which connects nicely to some very practical physical interventions happening on the ground.
Like the ones Jeffrey Tompkins showed in Indianapolis.
Exactly. Using just paint and chalk to quickly create low-cost mobility hubs, reallocating street space, organizing scooter parking. Fast, cheap, effective.
Tactical urbanism making a real difference. And then there's the more permanent version, like Suzanne Green's mobility hotel concept.
Right, like Nordstrand and Gothenburg. These multi-use hubs that anchor mobility services right into daily life, commerce, collaboration.
Integrating mobility physically into the urban fabric. And finally, overarching all of the strategy talk is a major market reality.
Don't tell me cost.
Bingo. Stefan Rilling flagged the unavoidable car affordability crisis. Costs are rising, and it's forcing OEMs to rethink everything.
Like what?
Product portfolios, how features are packaged, and definitely financial models. Think leasing 2.0, more flexible ownership options. They have to innovate to keep mobility accessible.
So from billion-euro strategic bets down to chalk on the pavement, it all comes back to integration, accessibility, affordability.
And keeping the human elements central. That seems to be the running thread through all these insights.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, new editions drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on electrification and battery technology, next-gen vehicle intelligence, and commercial fleet insights.
Thanks for tuning in. As you think about all these shifts from tech specs to system integration, maybe keep one final thought in mind, building on Paul Jordan's research.
What's that?
Sustainable mobility ultimately will only win if the solutions genuinely meet diverse human needs. Because for most people, things like reliability, the effort involved, and basic safety often count for more than cost or even sustainability when they're just trying to get somewhere.
That's the real litmus test, isn't it? Does it actually work for people's real lives? Subscribe to stay sharp, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.